Ferris Cartoony, 183, and sets a blistering new track record. GRIDLIFE Track Battle Finals are here at Heartland Motorsports Park in Topeka, Kansas, the final points event of the 2022 season. Welcome back to Topeka. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Greg Kramer. Greg, back for Track Battle, the second time they've been out on stream today, starting with our fastest cars, Group A, in just a couple of minutes.
It's going to be interesting to see because the temperatures are still relatively low, which means great power for the engines, great effect on the aero, the denser air. But it is warming up just a little bit, but the winds died down. So I think it's very possible we're going to see some really, really good times. A little bit of sun starting to peek through, which will help warm that track up just a little bit, get heat in the tires a little bit quicker. But it's still cool enough to, I think, be able to put down some really good times. And the drivers that have spent the morning really tweaking on their cars, getting it ready to go, this could be a really, really storming, fast session this afternoon. It's going to be a lot warmer tomorrow. This could be track record time right here.
I think so. We saw Ferris Cartoony just kind of testing the waters this morning, so I think we'll see him go really fast here in a couple of minutes. Jackie Ding reset the street modified record. He's far from done. He will roll off in first here in this next group. Of course, we've got that 313 car that came in that we saw go out a little bit earlier. He's mega quick. And then that street modified battle. Of course, we've got Mike Amick in the middle of that as well. But throughout this weekend, we're going to see some really fast laps from Amick. Dewey DeWitt, Nick Kors is out there in his front-wheel drive Honda Civic. Jason Kanakry in Street Modified is right up in the mix. Andy Hollis leading Track Mod with Dalton Klein not too far behind. There's a lot of really good battles we're going to follow all day long. If you'd like to follow along with timing and scoring yourself, you can go to racehero.io. We'll have timing and scoring on the screen up for you as soon as this next session kicks off in a couple of minutes. For the rest of the day here on the live stream, it's Track Battle A, B, C, D, and then we'll head into GRIDLIFE Touring Cup race number 1 at 7 Eastern, 6 Central here in about an hour and 20 minutes or so. So in just a few, we'll kick things off. Heartland Motorsports Park, 2.5 miles. Let's have a look here at our track map real quick before we launch things off. 2.5 miles, 14 corners here, Greg. It is a really fast-flowing racetrack, but 2 big digs out of turn 14 and turn number 6.
Yeah, what they call traction events, and it's where you've got to get the power down because it leads on to essentially the 2 fastest segments of the track. Turn 14, that lower left corner, out of the tight twisty bits, and then onto that front straight. It's a long, really quick run all the way down into turn 1 and 2. The other one is on what would now be the farthest right in the green there, where you see turn 6. That's the other one because 7, as you accelerate out of there, is pretty much just flat. And so those are the 2 real traction events. The rest of it on the turn 1 through 7 part of the track, flowing turns. Then you get down that chicane wickedly quick. It's faster in than it is on the exit. You got to have that in the back of your mind. Then 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. It's all about really, once you get through 10, is setting up your lines through those very quick, tight changing corners to get you lined up for the best drive out of that crucial turn 14. So there's lots of nuance to this track. A little bit of elevation. When you go by the pit straight, it climbs to what they call alpha, drops through 1, 2, and then that long arcing turn 3, banking with a climb, and you can really sling it in there and let that banking just really let you shoot out of that corner. Really cool little track.
It's a great track, and again, it's not that old either.
Nope.
It's only about, 25, 30 years old at this point, which is new in racetrack terms. A lot of the tracks we go to built 50s, 60s, and 70s, and those would even be considered new as far as racetracks are concerned.
And this front straight section, it used to be on the drag strip, and then when Ray Irwin bought it, they actually built that new front straight, added the new pit complex, because the drag strip is, they're weird because in the wet, they're diabolically slippery. In the dry, they're so tacky. It's just weird how it works out because of all the drag launch that it was really confounding the road racing sections. And so they just made this little change, which I think that little uphill run through Alpha 1 and 2 makes this track really interesting because it's a little blind approach up into Alpha and 1, and so you got to commit to it. get down in and through. So the changes, they've continued to evolve. The most recent owners totally repaved the track like 3 years ago, and the facilities are really, really top tier. It's cool. And if you look here, look at the track. You look at that paving. They did it in 3 consecutive paves. So there's 3 segments to the track, and what that can do is really help you in terms of your line around the track. Okay, I'm over a little too far here. Adjust. So there are little things you can pick up on that really can help you here.
And you don't have a lot of patches. You see one there of some newer asphalt kind of mid-corner, but you don't see a lot of patches around this racetrack. Some of the older tracks have some concrete here and some asphalt there. A lot of that kind of gap filler in the racetrack that can get really hot and greasy, but this pavement is really good. There is a pretty nasty bump entering turn 8, that fast left entering the chicane, so that is can be a little challenging at times, but for some of the cars with downforce, it's really nothing more than a blip on the radar here. But Jackie Ding goes out ahead of Ferris Khartoumi. Typically, Ferris would go out ahead of Jackie, but I wonder if Ferris is, again, on those Michelin tires, it takes some laps to get warmed up. If he's going to go behind Jackie, let Jackie run his fast lap, and then by the time Jackie's done, Ferris will be ready to rip.
I think that's probably the plan is, Jackie is going to go in a hurry. Ferris, as you said, with those tires just takes a little bit more. So why impede Jackie? And Ferris, obviously a good sportsman-like driver and is going to let it go. And when he's ready to go, you'll know. It'll be, pretty impressive, obviously. And you're right about no patching and the like. Whatever the grip you have here is, it's consistent for the entire lap, and that is a joy for drivers.
It really is. Joy for drivers. Turn 1 and 2, this fast-flowing right-left, and then you head into turn 3, that banked corner. Right now, Jackie Ding, leader in street modified, reset that record at a 136.495 in the previous session. Right now, he's on track to improve that already. So Mike Amick, Nick Kors, Jason Kanakary, the next 3 drivers in line behind him in the street modified battle. In terms of the championship, Ding's essentially got that wrapped up, and now at this point it's just a formality and getting one more event win for the year.
Absolutely, and even if you've got yourself a nice point lead and you're probably going to win this thing, that doesn't mean you don't want to go out a winner and you're going to go after it. That's what these guys are all about, setting and breaking records and the pursuit of speed in that perfect lap. You never get it, but it's the pursuit of the perfect lap that is the journey that you always want to take. Here's that tricky chicane. You can see he's using every bit of road. Got a little bit too wide there, and you can see he kissed it, and then when it kicked out a little bit, that's going to hurt his time. He knows it, but now he knows what he's got in terms of grip at this early stage.
Yeah, certainly Jackie is never one to back down either.
Exactly.
He typically, when he has these big slides, he doesn't jump off throttle and go again. He just goes after it even harder, chasing the green on the data that he's got in the car. So rolling through turn 14 now. This is all about getting that exit, getting the car straightened out. In the kill mode, there's a switch in this car to flip to a different tune, 600 plus horsepower. We'll see what Jackie Ding can do this time through. Can he reset the street modified record? 136.572, not quite, slower by about a tenth.
Look what Khartoumi did on his warm-up lap. 35.7. There he is. And that thing, when he's got that in what you would call kill mode, it's northwards of 1,200 horsepower as Jackie just lets him go.
Really, really impressive. Nick Kors improves, a 141.17 versus his 141.46 a little earlier. Look, now Ferris is on. You see that car change direction very quickly. A lot of buffeting in the nose, though. You have to wonder what's causing that. Is that caused because of the splitter and shoving air over the nose, or is it something higher up on the nose that could be causing that vibration?
I think it's probably that splitter. It's so huge and it ducts so much air that I think that might be doing it. And look at just behind those front tires, both sides, folks. Massive blowers, turbocharges on that thing. It is just, I call it the beast because it is that. And Ferris is a guy who gets up on the wheel and drives that thing. It is so fun to see him on any track, and he just unleashes it, and it's something special.
So Ferris in the past, kind of shows up, runs the event, and bails pretty quick, and he asked me earlier this week, and he goes, "Hey, you got all my trophies?" Yes, I do, Ferris. We'll give them to you at the end of the weekend. But through turn exit of 7, it looked like he dropped wheels on driver's right, kicked some dust up there, which going the speeds he's going, that had to be a bit of a sketchy moment. But accelerating now towards the start-finish line, traction control doing its best to keep the rear tires underneath him across the line, and his fastest of the day.
33.2. Boom. And he had a 34.4 this morning. So that tells you just what he's doing. And no worries, because all those trophies would fill up that rear wing.
They sure would. Here's Andy Hollis, fastest in track mod so far this weekend at a 42.4. He has yet to improve this session. Again, he said he wasn't necessarily trying to be all that competitive, but again, fast driver in a really fast car across the line for Andy Hollis. Will it be an improvement? Yes, it will. Best of this weekend, 141.364.
Stellar lap, and obviously that car is, comes out of the right off the showroom as a really, really quick bit of kit, and he just really is good at it. So many championships and solo or autocross competitions and various other things. He really knows how to wheel a car, and this thing is so balanced that it just really, anything you throw at it, it just eats it up.
And for reference, the previous track-modified track record here for GRIDLIFE was a 143.320. So we've eclipsed that not only in street modified with Jackie's car, but also in track modified. So both those classes have gone faster. We only had a couple unlimited cars here last year. Khartoumi is 5 seconds quicker than our quickest unlimited car from last year. I think Club TR, we've already reset the record, and in, I think, street class as well. Let me quickly check on that. Josh Halka's best time last year, track record 143.376, and Feingold has already eclipsed that. So we're well clear of all the records we've seen here from last season.
Well, hey, these conditions are so perfect for ridiculously quick laps, and everybody is taking full advantage of it here, really, regardless of category. And even, if it's a 1,200 horsepower car or 100 horsepower in a fit, when it's cold, the air's denser, they make that little bit more power. You could push the tires a little harder. Everything is just falling into place for these wickedly fast times.
We'll see if Hollis can improve again on the 141.364 and the McLaren 720S. Cross the line for the bright orange McLaren. And I think that was a little pickup, a 142.202. Yeah, so even faster.
Yep, nice lap.
Active aero on this car as well. You see that rear wing kind of pick up in the braking zones to act as basically a spoiler like you'd see on an airplane touching down.
Exactly, and the one thing that you really notice when you watch Andy is how smooth he is. There's no wasted speed. You never see that car stepping out, scrubbing that little bit of speed. It's just, he just glides through the corners.
So that car we just saw for a moment, that was Grant Davidson. Now he has run a lap already in the session, a 43.8. He's behind Dana Basinski, but critically, Davidson repaired that windshield that he had break yesterday. Now they taped the hood down to make absolutely sure it wasn't going anywhere. But Davidson has now put himself into second in Falcon Club TR territory. All he has to do this weekend is get on the podium. He's got that championship clinched. Here's Ferris back on a flyer, picks up a second, 132.2.
He is just a machine, isn't he? Comes through now. He's going to just take it really easy, cool all the components off. And here's the number 313. Interesting car because it runs. I think this is our super unlimited car.
Yes.
Because it essentially came out of the Porsche factory as a designed and built for racing car, not a street car in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, now he has been changed to unlimited, so they might. Might. Again, there's a lot of gray area around VIN numbers and all that.
Right.
So I think this car has been put into unlimited. The problem with super unlimited is we don't make trophies for that class because we don't really see those cars a lot.
Yeah, right.
So he's been put into unlimited. I think that's probably a better place for that car.
I think so too.
And at a 39.3, he's certainly not in any danger of eclipsing Khartoumi and being an outlier in that sense. So Karlinski running good laps. So that was an improvement. Not quite. Needs a couple more tenths. Here, by the way, let's talk about Street GT. This is Steve Luca. He was tied with Cody Hunt coming into the weekend, and Luca right now at a 142.9 is leading in Street GT. Now, for Cody Hunt in that Street GT category, I don't know if he's actually even signed up for this, and I do not see him here. But let me see how many events that they've run, because they take your best 4 events. So in the Street GT class, now all that matters is has Cody really maxed out his so Cody's got 5 100-point weekends, so he's maxed out his points. So all Steve Luca, so has Steve Luca. So I don't really know what happened here. I have to refer to Abe on that one.
There you go. And I'll tell you what, Luca just the time he just set 4/10 better than he ran this morning.
Wow.
So we're seeing really good indication that there is still an immense amount of speed in this track and in these conditions here, even though it's the afternoon, it's warmed up. And part of it is I think the wind has died down, and it was a headwind all the way down that back straight out of 7 through the chicane and into 10. And, yeah, that can help you with your aero, but it does create drag, and that's being eliminated. And back on Hollis here and see if he can beat that 141.150 that he's been putting up some really good times. A look here at the 109 of Dana Baczynski, who is one of the guys in Club TR that has really been setting some marvelous times this season as a whole, and is really strongly placed for a championship.
Certainly. So track battle A almost complete. Dana Baczynski, there he is. We haven't really talked about him a lot because he was kind of hidden in the the tail half of this very fast Group A session here. But again, leading Falcon Club TR this weekend. Championship-wise, again, with Grant out here, that might be a little bit of a tall task for Dana, but he's running a great weekend already. This is a K-Swap BRZ that Dana has done a lot of work on himself. He and his fiancee Emma, who's working at our timing tower right now, she and him share the car a lot at track days, and she actually was driving this car at Road America last week and broke, I think it was the diff on this car.
Oh, okay.
So, which, I don't know exactly what happened to lead to that, but they've replaced it, and obviously it is not hurting them at all.
No, as a matter of fact, he just went a half second on, not the lap, he just finished the previous one a half second quicker than he ran this morning. So he's now into the 143.4 range as opposed to the very high 143s. So continuing to find good speed here. It's watch Dana through this chicane. You just absolute flat in, and then you got to just get out of the power a little bit. Just a smidge there, unless you've got a lot of aero, and then you could just feed it through there. And then right back on it here. And then pretty significant braking here, but you don't want to run too wide. Nicely done, because now we can set up beautifully for 11. And you don't worry about turning in here to 12, because it's all about the exit at 12 and the setup to get you dialed up here through 13. And look at that, absolutely perfectly placed to get that car rotated, squared up, and hard on the throttle coming out of 14 onto this long front straight.
I love how that car moves dynamically. It rolls a little bit, but I think sometimes, people that are relatively new to modifying cars will think, oh, you want it super stiff. Well, sure, but there's a trade-off there. The suspension still needs to suspend. You're supposed to actually have the car absorb impacts and that sort of thing and really keep the tire on the ground. If it's too stiff, it'll be bouncing and hopping around. So to see a little bit of body roll, that's a good thing to maintain consistent mechanical grip.
Well, you want it, stiff is what helps you do fast transitions, but it needs to be a little bit compliant, because if it's not, as you said, what you basically have then is a car that's nothing but rebound.
Right.
And so then you hit a curb and the car will just pogo and bounce, and that just doesn't work. So you need a car that, and even though the curbs are low here as the checkered flag comes out, you still use them a little bit, and you need the car to absorb that little bit of a bump when you get up on a curb and just soak it up and let you stay flat. And that's the whole story here as we're watching Hollis. Boy, he's got down to a 141 flat. I wonder if this will crack a 140 here as he completes this lap.
And Nairi, who's on track right now, still on a flyer, right behind Hollis. This is your track modified battle for the weekend win, a 141.094 to a 141.294, 2/10 between them. Incredible stuff as the checkered flag waves on this session. We'll have a look at our results here in a moment. But Hollis, can he improve? He does not.
No.
Nairi, I don't know if Nairi's going for another hot lap, but either way, really close fight there. And look at second in street mod, Corazon and Kanakri, all within about a second and 3/10 of each other. Really cool stuff to watch.
That really is tight. You just have to love that.
Here's a look at results. Faris Khartoumi down to a 32.2. I still think he's got time to find for sure. Jackie Ding in second overall, but first in street mod. Then Tadas Karlinksis. Nick Kors in the number 79 Civic. Mike Omick in fifth. Down the order here, Steve Luca leading in Street GT. And then Dana Baczynski and Grant Davidson getting that car back on track. Great effort there by him and his Acuity teammates to replace that windshield and get him up into podium contention and a chance to win the season championship.
And you know what? Looking at that time, I've got to think based on some very sketchy math, not because of formulas being bad, just because me and math don't get along so well sometimes. But I think that lap of Khartoumi, that's going to be an average speed over 100 miles an hour. Around this track, that's flying.
It really is fast.
It really is.
So Ferris Khartoumi resets the unlimited record again. So did Jackie Ding in Street Modified, Steve Luca in Street GT, Halka in Street, Basinski in Club TR. What are we missing? So we need to reset some Sunday Cup records. That's coming up here in a couple of sessions. But we're not done yet. We've still got to sort out some podium things. So on to Group B in a couple of moments, and we'll work our way down to C and then D, and then into our GridLife Touring Cup Race 1 for the weekend. So still lots coming your way here if you've just joined us on GridLife Live. Again, if you're watching on Twitch, make sure you follow us on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're on Facebook, head on over to Twitch and YouTube and join the parties over there. And we're looking forward to sharing updates about 2023 in the very near future, schedule, rules changes, and that sort of thing. Coming, not too distant, no set date, but keep your eye out for fun things.
Lots on the horizon.
Oh, boy.
For GridLife, and it is exciting stuff, just like this paddock.
It's great.
I mean, it really is.
We talk about, I mentioned briefly in qualifying for GLTC how quickly the paddock will jump on and help people out. Well, last night, one of the new GLTC competitors broke an engine, rolled that car into the Myriad Motorsports trailer. They just met that guy 2 hours ago. They help him swap an engine until 3 in the morning. That's the level that GridLife is at. They don't even need to know who you are. Just if you've got the ability to help somebody and you can do that, that's great.
Well, they'll even harvest off of announcers' cars.
Yeah, that happened. Yeah, my FRS is on jack stands right now.
I was going to say.
So, and I'm not driving this weekend. So, yeah, we'll talk about Piero in a little while. But if you saw the incident earlier with Piero Pucci's number 510 FRS, well, stay tuned. We've got an update for you on that car. It will be back out on track.
And we have to do a quick clarification. Something that I mentioned at the end of our previous broadcast, for all of you Doberman-loving fans, need to clarify, I love Dobermans. I love dogs in general. I certainly love Dobermans. It was a joke because the hotel we're staying in, nobody realized this, but it's right next to a big sort of hall, if you will, and it is a Doberman dog show, and the hotel is everywhere you look. There's
Dobermans everywhere.
Beautiful, absolutely stunning Dobermans that are just, having a great time, and they're
well
great.
Behaved
so
too.
They are actually, surprisingly, with that many dogs, you don't hear a lot of barking when they get together. The owners really have them done, and it's actually really cool to walk into the lobby of this really nice hotel, the Hotel Topeka downtown, and it's just littered with Dobermans of every color and size and everything, and so that was just a little joke.
Yeah. So last
Love
night
Dobermans.
I had a fried chicken sandwich from Sonic and a milkshake, and I was going to take an elevator ride up to the 5th floor of the hotel, and a woman with 3 dogs walks in the elevator. I was like, I'll take the next one. She goes, no, they're fine. So I come on in, and they were very well behaved, considering there was hot food right there for 3 very large dogs to grab it. They just sat there and took the ride up.
Yeah, absolutely. I waited for the elevator at one point. It hit every floor coming down, and I'm waiting, and then the door is open, and it was like 4 people and 12 dogs, it seemed, come walking out.
Yeah, well, they all have like 4 dogs.
I
I'm trying to
know,
figure out.
I know.
So do they own all, like, is there handlers that they take other people's dogs from around the country, or does each person own multiple dogs? Do we know how that works? I mean, I'm not a dog show convention.
I have no idea.
Guy, but
I have no idea. But it's an interesting question.
It really is. Yeah.
So,
well, cars on track. Getting a good look there at James King out of Liberty, Missouri, in that 2009 Radical SR3 RS. This is another one of our Super Unlimited cars. Now, this is a true Super Unlimited. This is definitely not a street car, but looks like he's getting things warmed up and ready to go. This is TrackBattle Group B on track now. And it should be a pretty busy session as it was earlier. So we probably won't see track records in classes fall, but we're going to see some good kind of podium and mid-pack battles here in each of our 7 different classes.
yeah, absolutely. And even if we're not looking at in this group some track records, we're still looking at personal bests, and that's really how you judge yourself. Yeah, a track record is great. A win in class is great, but what each of these drivers wants to ultimately see is, am I faster every time I go out if the conditions allow for that? If I am, that's a personal win. And that's what this is. Like I said, it's the pursuit of that perfect lap. You never get it, but it's if every time you go out, you've tweaked on the car, you've made an adjustment in your driving, and you're a tenth or 2 quicker, that's the progress that brings smiles.
Right, and you always necessarily can't compare yourself to the guy that has 300 more horsepower than you in the same class. Not everyone builds their cars to the same spec. You're limited by finances or resources or time, and you can't necessarily always be the guy up front, but you can focus on your individual records. I ran cross country and track in high school, and that was a lot of the personal journey there. It's like you can't compare yourself to the guy that can run a 4:46 mile. You got to compare what's your best, how good are you doing, and constantly work on yourself. And at some point, you work on yourself enough, and some of the other kind of factors play into that. But at some point, you probably find yourself near the top part of your class.
Exactly. Because it ultimately comes down to, as you said, you may not have the finances, you may not have the wherewithal to build those incredible power machines. But if you have the best car you can muster and then drive it to your max and just continue tweaking at it, eventually you're going to, and you can make up a lot being a good driver. Because there are plenty of guys, believe me, I've seen a lot of this over the years, that have a lot of wherewithal and not enough talent to be peddling that wherewithal.
Certainly.
And so if you're a really good driver, you could show up in a car that maybe is a bit down on power, maybe not quite as sweet handling, but if you just have that gift, you could make up a lot of time.
Cars on track making their first timed laps. Corey Ross comes across the timing and scoring. And first lap out for Corey Ross, a 1:49, so just warming things up now. Andres Bertulis is on track. There's a good look at the number 2 of Ryan Dussix.
A little bit of smoke out of the back. Now that may be tire rub.
Could be. It's a Subaru.
Yeah.
I own one. I'm allowed to say that. There's your 8 different classes here. The Super Unlimited down to Falcon Sunday Cup. I say 8, typically it's 7, but we have a couple Super Unlimited cars, so we have to make sure we mention those. And Dussix right now running in 10th overall here, a 1:48.8. That is about 3 seconds off of his time this morning. I think people still working up to pace here in this.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we noticed when we were following that car, when you make that turn at 1 and you cross the drag strip, you were mentioning that bump over an 8.
Yep.
There's a pretty good one when you cross that drag strip, and it's right as you start to make your transition point. So you've got to hit that straight, let it settle, and turn. And it's just one of those. Every track has its nuance. This little thing here where if you run a foot off of the normal line, you're going to miss that bump, or this, that, or the other thing, and that's where track knowledge pays off, and just making those adjustments.
Fez Bobber in the GR86 rolling through turn number 9 right now, heading down towards 10, 11, 12. And again, that car is a Falcon Club TR vehicle that was battling pretty closely with Peter Granberg, who had a pretty good show. Look out. It's one of our Focus RS friends going for a little ride.
Yeah, he's got all-wheel drive.
Drove right through it.
He's just rallying.
I think that is Nick Agurder. I mispronounced it horribly in the first session, and got the Instagram story about the pronunciation. So I fixed that, Agurder, and he's out there going a little off track, but that's all right. All-wheel drive through the grass. I've heard a lot of people say actually that the off-track areas of this place are pretty smooth. So if you go off, just hold the wheel straight, drive right through it. You're not going to tear anything up. The one exception is at turn 8. If you go straight and take that tighter chicane, there's some hidden anti-cut curbs that you could find.
Oh, okay.
So that's something you want to avoid.
Good. Yeah.
There's a good look at Jerry Liu in the 226. That's a PhD Racing Toyota GR Supra in the street modified class. Now, PhD Racing, of course, Jackie Ding participates and operates a lot of that. And you see a lot of Supras come out of their camp. And they've run them in Street GT, which that car falls into very nicely in stock form. But once you start adding aero and things, and it tends to be a pretty good street modified car, as Jackie has shown. But a lot of PhD Racing Supras. They also bring out a whole bunch of Porsches to a bunch of events.
And these cars just seem to inherently be quick.
Yes.
They look good and they go well.
Again, everybody knows that, this was that joint project between BMW and Toyota, and everyone jokes, oh, it's just a BMW. Well, it's a really good one. It's a really good one. And that B58 engine that BMW co-designed, they designed it, Toyota took a look at it, they tore it all down, and they basically approved that engine. It wasn't like they just said, just roll with it. And it is proven in Jackie's car to take over 600 real horsepower with bigger turbos and completely stock internals. So really impressive stuff from BMW and Toyota. Dynamically, I think the Toyota is the better track car. They tend to be pretty soft in the rear from factory, and they roll around a little bit. They're not super light, but they are very good dynamically. And especially the later generations, the first couple of years, they had some things to sort out, and then the later cars, engine-wise, more power. Now they have the manual transmission for 2023, which will be an option. So I'm curious to see if we'll see a lot of those manual transmission cars. They'll be hard to get, I think.
Yeah, I think so, too. I would think so.
Dussek's to the top,
Nice.
143.351, which is 2 seconds faster, 2.5 seconds faster than his time from this morning. So he's certainly getting comfortable.
Yeah, they are finding speed, and you got to love that. Kyle Magnuson sits second in this group right now in the Cayman, the Street GT car, at a 144.3. And he had a 146.7, so he's 2.4 seconds faster than he was. So obviously, the tweaking that they've been doing on these cars and the fact that the conditions are staying nice and cool with the wind, it's there, but it's nowhere near as gusty and consistently stout winds as it is down this long backstretch. These cars are working right now.
And the confidence level of everybody.
Oh,
for so many people, this is a new event. We had this event last year. I think there was a lot of drivers that were like, I'm not really sure, but I've never heard of this place. This year, as the finals, everyone was like, yeah, I got to try this place out. And last year, the biggest response was, holy cow, I didn't know this track was this awesome. I've heard several people say that this might be the best time attack track in North America after driving it.
Really?
Which is a very, that's a lot of words to say about a place that you've never driven before. So
yeah,
that's really cool. And people really seem to enjoy this place. And now we've got a big field, and times continuously get faster as people get more and more confident in their car, their ability, and the conditions, as you mentioned, staying pretty similar as Bertulis goes up to second at 143.575. And for Bertulis, 3 seconds to pick up.
Yeah, it is so fast right now. And I wonder if, we'll have to check with somebody on this. This is just me speculating, but I think the two reasons they may be saying that. One, what we talked about earlier, the way this track has been, recently paved without the patching, is we said whatever grip you have is consistent. So it's not like on some tracks, you've got 1,200 horsepower, you've got 600 horsepower, and you go into a turn, and it's concrete, then it's asphalt, then it's whatever, and the grip's changing, and you're never really sure what you're going to have. Here you know what you have, right? And I think that's really conducive to that confidence to say, I'm not going to turn into a corner unless I grab a curb or something and have all of the grip change. The other thing is when you look at the layout of this track, it's really about every different type of corner you can imagine. That long bank 3, the sweeper, that wicked quick 8-9 chicane, the tight twisty bits where it's really technical, and you're out of your aero, so you need the car to have some mechanical grip and some rotate. All of those things that as a driver, when you're doing time attack, where it's literally what it says, every lap it's just you in the car and get after it, no door to door, you're not worried about that. That is where this can be really, really, I think that's just really attractive here.
Certainly, as Corey Ross works his way through 12, 13, and then 14. This is almost a hairpin. Not quite. It's about 80% of a hairpin. Yeah. And then that launch onto basically a drag strip. It parallels a drag strip. And then that run over Alpha, which is a really unique corner because it kind of destabilizes, low aero cars. As you come up over that crest, the car kind of gets light a little bit. You have to pull the car to the left and then set up for a very fast right-left turn one.
So and it's a blind totally approach. So, it takes you a little bit to go, okay, this is where I want to place the car. You just make sure I'm watching that flag station just in case somebody has something on the downside, and then just commit to it. And that's what it's all about.
There's Bertulis in that Lexus RCF. I didn't realize how much he had committed this thing to tracking. It's got no rear glass in it.
Yeah.
And a full roll cage, which we mentioned earlier, or at least a very extensive door bar and bracing situation. You see the turn signal come on there mid-corner? He is hustling that car, grabbing everything he can. See the wipers come on every once in a while on people that are really hustling, but
I had that happen during an autocross run many years ago. Talk about embarrassing. Because in trying to save it, the wipers came on and I hit the horn a couple.
Yeah.
And it's on video.
Oh, no.
Because a friend of mine for my little TV show at the time was shooting it. So it was on my TV show, which is even worse.
Peter Granberg picked up about a half second.
Ooh, big wiggle there.
Yeah.
Sorry, by
no, you're good.
he turned in and you could just see he just asked that little bit too much out of the back of the car, and it just started to come around. He did a nice job to save it.
Really getting after it right now. But
Yeah,
as I
boy,
mentioned,
he is.
Granberg up about a half second in Falcon Club TR. Again, battling just outside of the podium there. Mario Marone up in the mix of the 146.1. So having a good scrap back there, about 2.5, 3 tenths apart. Then Fez off by about a second now. So Granberg has distanced himself from Fez versus the first session of the day, but still lots of time to find pace for the 610 that GR86.
It's interesting for Marone. He's one of the few guys who hasn't gone quicker than he ran this morning. He put in a really good lap this morning at a 45.7 and now at a 46.1. So he's only 4 tenths off, but I'm sure that'll be a little bit frustrating for him, as Granberg did a 146.9 this morning and has trimmed a good half second off of that.
Yep. And as we watch Mario Marone work his way around the track in 10th overall in this session, Ryan Dusix and Andreas Bertulis. How about this? This is the battle for third in Unlimited, 2 tenths of a second, which we don't get to talk about battles in Unlimited all that much because we typically don't get a ton of entries in that class, but we do at the finals as they continue to battle for position. Granberg really hustling right now on the backside of the racetrack here. Look at him. This is over by turn 5 and 6 as he heads down towards the left-hander at 6.
Now let's see, as you turn in here, and nice. You get it right down to that, it just nicked that little inside curb, and there you're just flat through 7. If you get 6 right, you're just literally flat through 7. And look at the speed he's building. Now he's going to flick it down toward the 8. There it is.
Oh, I saw smoke in the background.
I did
forgot.
too for a second.
There is drift here this weekend on the skid pad, and it definitely threw me off a little bit over there.
Over the tunnel and now down into turn 10. Don't exit too far out. Not bad.
Again, this car and this driver, big gain in time this year, switching to that K-Swap power plant that he did in the offseason. He previously had that car supercharged and went through a couple motors and transmissions and finally went the K route. Did that over the offseason with K-Power Industries and now is paired up with Abbott Auto Performance, who is supporting that car out of Michigan. And across the line for Granberg, currently 11th overall. Can he go faster in this lap? He does not. Stays at a 46.3.
And I think the reason was he just needs to tidy it up a little bit. There are a couple of spots where he's a little wide of the apex, and that compromises your approach into the next turns. Here's our Super Unlimited driver in the Radical.
Yeah, so a 46.6. Now, again, this car has a lot of aero. It's a really darty, sticky car. It doesn't have a ton of power. These cars are not monsters in a straight line. They might top out at 130, 140, which is fast, don't get me wrong, but it's not like he's doing Ferris Khartoumi speeds down the straightaway. The difference is in the corners, you're not really slowing down all that much.
No, that's it. You're flat chat in a lot of places. But, then compared to some of the other cars here, when you, as you said, when you get out of that tight turn and you get out of turn 6 or out of 14 and you go to the throttle, you just don't have that launch. And remember, when you've got the more aero you have, particularly if it's a car that is a little underpowered, the more aero you have, the draggier it is. So you get to a point where it just runs out of gas in a way, in terms of you stop accelerating at a certain point on these long straights. But he's still wheeling it really, really well.
I had a chance to ride in an SR3 earlier this year at Gingerman Raceway. I have never experienced downforce before. My neck was sore after 3 laps.
Oh,
I mean, it's wild how fast you can carry speed into a corner. And you really, 5 and 6 at Gingerman, the folks that have been there know that typically it's a break into 5, kind of rolling through into turn 6, and then you're back on throttle. The SR3, you're flat through turn 5 and then braking for 6. It's just insane how it changes the racetrack. You can really straighten out a lot of corners that otherwise would be full-on braking zones and corners.
Well, that's why, the top prototype drivers, the IndyCar drivers, Formula One drivers, are jockey-sized with middle linebacker necks.
Yes, right.
It's just, you see them and you just look at them and go, that's some weird proportions, dude.
Right.
But, they do massive training. And there's nothing like being in the car a lot of laps, but they literally do training where they have weights attached to these things that they, put in their heads, and they literally work those neck muscles because they have to.
Right. Here's a look at your results. Dusix and Bertulis in the Unlimited class, top of Group B. Kyle Magnussen in third in that Street GT car. Good run for him. Derek News in Street. Nicholas Hendricks, Mike Coons, Jerry Liu, Oglesby, Ross, and King in that Super Unlimited car, SR3, the rest of the top 10. Mario Marone, Granberg, and Fez Bobber having a great battle for fourth in Falcon Club TR. Good stuff back here. A little track mod battle. Matt Thompson and Alexander Roy have a little scrap by 0.003 of a second between those cars.
Close.
Man, that's got to be fun to chase each other around. All right, well, next up is going to be Group C. We got 2 more track battle sessions to get through in their entirety today, and then we'll have our GridLife Touring Cup Race 1 at the top of the hour. So if you just joined us, 2 more track battle sessions, GLTC at 7/6 Central here on GridLife Live. Thanks for joining. I'm Kyle Heyer, again joined by Greg Kramer. Greg, it's so great to have you back. I know we had you at Gingerman, Mid-Ohio, and one other one, didn't we? Was it just those 2?
No, I thought there was another
There's another one. What am I blanking out on?
I don't know.
Midwest, Mid-Ohio.
Maybe that was it.
Wow.
I guess
All right.
so.
Well, we need to have you back more next year. No, we definitely had you for another one. What was that? What other streams?
Why are we not coming up with?
Oh, no, we didn't have you at Autobahn either.
No. We talked about it.
Man, okay, well, that's all the events.
That's it. So
right,
I guess it was 3.
Yeah, more next year. Let's do more. We need to get you the schedule in time.
It's a deal.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's a deal. But it is great to be back. One, this is one of the most enjoyable paddocks in motorsports for those reasons that you've talked to about how somebody that has just met somebody an hour or 2 before will spend most of a night with their crew helping them fix engines and replace stuff, and just the camaraderie here is, and one of the reasons is that the overriding element here is diversity and inclusive and inclusion, but the other part of it that I don't think is mentioned enough is respect. And if you respect your competitors here, you are welcome. If you don't, don't come, because these are people that these are people you want to have friends, and the car that you brought, you want to leave with it in the same shape.
Right, and we do a really good job of that here at GridLife, and it's really neat to see everybody get along, work together in the paddock here, whether you're wheel-to-wheel racing or even in track battle. People forget that, manners on a racetrack extend beyond racing side by side. Mm-hmm. Think about point buys in track battle, even HPDE when you come in a learning experience. People are getting up to speed, learning how to point by and not getting yourself filled with your own ego. That's such a big, important thing. And you mentioned the other thing about the diversity and inclusion. That's really the motto, right? It's motorsports inclusion.
Yep.
We want everybody in our paddock, all ages, all genders, all races, everybody, everywhere. And this is a really diverse paddock, and certainly there's always room to help knock down barriers in every form.
Yep.
I always talk about this year. Colton Wade and the rest of the Fields Auto Works team, they are actually running essentially a program to help get more female drivers into GLTC. And they've already gotten Lisa Keys through and licensed through that awards program. So
that's
really
neat.
Neat.
Cool.
And I hope we see more of that and more people kind of making initiatives like that to get it even more and better than it already is, because you can't get complacent, Greg. You got to always keep pushing.
Always. And that's one of the hallmarks of this series, and that's what I love about it. And you know what it comes down to? If you like cars and you love people, this is a good place for you.
Not a bad spot.
Not a bad spot at all.
Cars rolling on the racetrack.
One of my favorites.
Oh, man. The Cutlass heading out on the track. We joked last season when we saw that at Autobahn. We were making a bunch of clips. Cutlass content.
There you go.
Nessus Prazelis. There goes, I think that was that Pucci? One of them's Pucci. We got to talk about him a little bit once he gets on the racetrack. There's a 373 heading out on the course.
We know how that's going to play out, right? If he sets a stellarly quick time, it's going to be your component.
Yeah, so I think I should go on the timing.
And
all right. So let's see if we can find that 510 car. And I'm not sure. I think I saw it. There's only a couple gray BRZs, so I would think it would go out. And I have to reference a sheet from earlier. Was Piero in group? Yes, he was. So he should be on track. The number 510. It's an FRS chassis. It's dark gray. And if we can pull that car up on screen, we'll talk about the little situation we saw earlier. We got it on camera, and it was Piero Pucci running with the ASM crew here this weekend. Had an incident over at the exit at turn 4, just kind of tracked a little wide, got up on the curbing and spun the car and knocked the right front into the wall. They ordered a new lower control arm for that car because it was all bent and contorted. And I saw this in the Club TR group chat. I'm like, I got an FRS sitting in the paddock. Keys are in it. If you want it, go grab it. And now the 510 is rolling, and this car was in the concrete wall earlier today. The right front still pretty torn up. But This has the lower control arm on the right front from my FRS in the paddock. So
if you get an emergency call and have to go, you got to find a ride.
I'll just borrow his car. We'll pay it back. But again, I was excited and happy to do that because I've never actually gotten the opportunity to lend someone components, and I think it's so fun. Like, yeah, sure, put it on jack stands. It's ASM. They're going to put it back together in 30 seconds anyway.
Yep.
You know, it's just one of those things, and I was thrilled and happy to do it. And I think that's kind of the attitude everyone has. We talked about the myriad guys swapping engines real late. No one's upset to lend parts to each other.
No, because one, you know that you'll get that part back, or you'll get even more back down the road. That's just how it works here. And this is one of the few series where I've seen somebody make a mistake, take a car out, and when both cars are damaged, and the guy that made the mistake and hit the other car, instead of working on his car, takes his entire crew over to the other guy's car, fixes that first, and then if we can get mine running, that's great. But that was my bad. We're going to take care of you.
So Piero asked when they pulled the control arm off, he goes, "How many miles does this car have?" It has 94,000. He goes, "Oh, good. Mine has 200,000." I go, "How many motors you been through?"
Jeez, that's unbelievable.
Apparently, I think it's he's only swapped the engine once, and it had 197,000 miles on the original motor,
not bad at
which
all.
is really good for one of these cars, certainly. So I just hope for his sake, a little wobble there, that my suspension isn't going to break on him. So
I was
hopefully,
yep.
I don't want to be the cause of a second off-track excursion.
Bad control arm pushing there.
Yeah, and who knows what else? Again, when you have a car go into the concrete, you don't really know everything that's broken.
No.
I'm sure right now he's probably discovering there's some other things to work on as well.
Well, just alignment for one thing. I mean, you whack it like that, it will make some little unintentional adjustments to the car. And I've seen it over the years on rare occasion where somebody's been struggling in a race and hits a wall.
Yep.
Just the right angle, and then suddenly they're just wicked fast. I don't know what it did, but after that it just hooked up.
I'm going to do it to the other side too.
Exactly.
There's a 727 car on track. That's Trey Tyler from DSX Motorsports out of Colorado Springs. And that Subaru WRX rolling through turn 14 and back up onto the front straightaway here. First timed laps going in on this session. And across the board for the 727. In the books, a 146.881.
And he had a 148.7.
So that's a 2-second pickup. Man.
We seem to see the gains in times when somebody makes a big gain. It's been in that from 1.8 to 2.2 second range for the most part. So obviously the track just has that much more in it right now, and it's up to these drivers to go out and explore that, if you will.
Back having a look at Piero for a moment, then back to Tyler here. A lot of squat in the rear suspension on that car, kind of tucking some tire back there.
Well, he's certainly getting the weight to transfer.
Again, I think the strength of these Subarus, these WRXs in particular, is that fundamentally they haven't really changed all that much, and they were just a good car from the outset in terms of their all-wheel drive system.
Yes.
And it continues to be really, really good. And despite the new one maybe not being the prettiest car on planet Earth, it still, I'm sure, is a very, very good car. We haven't seen him in the racetrack yet, but we will.
Right. Did you see how when he just turned into 6, he could turn in a lot earlier because then if you're in a rear drive car and you turn in that early, you have to wait forever for the car to straighten out before you can really go to throttle. The back end's just going to rotate around on you. All-wheel drive, you can turn in a little earlier because you just point those front wheels where you want it to go. And we talked about it earlier. If you have that little setup on it, or when you go to throttle, it's just a smidge loose at the back, then you could turn in early, go to throttle. The back just has that minor little rotation. You let those fronts pull you out of the corner, and away you go. And and you may think, okay, well, what does that do? Well, the simplest thing, and you still have to factor this in, he traveled a little less distance than the other guy did. And sometimes it's as simple as that.
Can we focus on that amazing Falcon Club TR battle for 7th overall right now? Look at that. Alex Moss, Foster Johnson, Ian Flavin, Ernestus Pazales, all within, okay, well, Johnson just went up the board, but all within just about a second of each other. Less than that, actually. It is so close there right now, and they continue to really be in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, up until that moment, it was incredibly close. Then Johnson just uncorked a 149.8 and sort of blew that out of the water because Moss had a 150.6. And Pizzellis at a 150.9 and Flavin at a low 51, so they are really close.
Yeah, Foster's just around the top 10 here in points this season. Has made 4 events so far, and his biggest points pickup was back at round 5. I think that was Autobahn that would have been, grabbing some dirt through turn number 5 and heading down towards turn 6. A really clean-looking car, by the way. All white S2000. That's a good-looking vehicle.
That's sharp. That is sharp. And he's a little off where he went this morning, but that's really his first serious flyer here. He's at a 49.8 right now, and this morning he went a 49.2. So we'll see what he's able to dig deep and find here.
Yeah, still getting after it and trying to find a little more time. But 23 cars in track. That's a lot of cars on track at the moment to sort out. Again, that goes back to, you mentioned the respect thing. You need to be cooperative. And I did see one car off track there at the exit of turn 7, I want to say. So if we could get a camera on that when we get not the opportunity, or actually that would have been at 8 maybe. That was a big moment there for Foster.
It was. You could see that sort of a little double wiggle there. And looking at just updating Brandon Hodge in the Street GT GR Supra. He's gone over a second faster than he had in the morning session as well.
So 7 minutes into Track Battle C here as we continue to click away some time. And Richard. All right, and Cerise is in the paddock here with an update.
Kyle, I know what's wrong with it. Ain't got no wheel on it.
It definitely doesn't have a wheel on it right now. It's not going anywhere at the moment. Thanks, Cerise.
But it's nothing like that insightful, pit reporting.
Oh, that was
well
great.
done. That was awesome, Cerise. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not driving so good right now, Greg. Oh, man.
Oh, that's beautiful. Hey, I just wanted to give a shout out here to Brent Schneekloff, the street all-wheel drive Lancer. He did a 150 this morning. He had a 148.9. He just uncorked a 148.4.
Wow.
He is absolutely flying out there right now in that number 258.
Schneekloff. I recognize that name from the GRIDLIFE iRacers competition last fall.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. He probably has run with us before, but I don't recall it on a live stream. So if he has joined us because of GRIDLIFE iRacers, that's really neat.
That's fabulous. And he's hustling it.
Yeah. DJ Alessandrini, really his GRIDLIFE career kicked off because of the GRIDLIFE iRacer stuff. So did mine, in all fairness. So if anyone doesn't know that story, that's a longer one for another day. But I didn't know GRIDLIFE existed until iRacing. So we can talk about that. We'll have some esports this winter as well. Keep everybody sharp in the off season as we get a look at the 258 car.
And Schneekloff, and he looks like he's on another. Well, I'll tell you what, he is driving some really nice lines here. See what he does here. He's got a 148.455. See if he's able to better that. The last 3 laps, he's taken big chunks out of his previous best. Does he do? He does. Wow. That was another 0.7 gain.
Getting after it. And the thing is every time you see that time drop down and you continue to get faster, it just motivates you to push a little bit harder. Mm-hmm. And there is a crossover point when you push a little too hard, but you have to find that limit and then back down one step to really experiment with the limits of your car. But right now, Schneekloff still is finding some time, and that's very encouraging behind the wheel.
That's like Jerry Seinfeld's comment about maximum strength medications. He said basically what they're saying is find the level of medication that'll kill you and back it down 1 notch.
Here's another 86. I think this might have actually been an FRS previously. This is the 750 car, and I believe this is the team She Breaks, He Fixes team. And I'm familiar with them. I actually don't remember or recall how I came across this duo, but they do a lot of tracking in this area of the country, and here they are at, I think, their first GRIDLIFE event ever. So congratulations. Thanks for joining that Falcon Club TR class at a 51.5, and looks really good. Really unique color on this car, too.
Like that.
A blue that I have not seen.
It's almost periwinkle.
Yeah, it kind of got a little purple to it for sure. But looking very dialed. Jeremy Bailey, another similar FRS right behind.
So it's He Fixes in the car. So other events that She Breaks.
Yes. Yeah. It wouldn't be on track. No, I'm not sure how they came up with the idea of that name, but it's clever.
Yeah, it is.
I'll say that.
And they are, right now, they're running almost identical times to what they ran this morning.
Well, that means they must be pretty similar on pace because I bet they're probably swapping back and forth.
I would think so, yeah.
Alex Moss, by the way, if anyone's wondering why Alex Moss is in Falcon Club TR and in 13th overall in Group C, that's not the Super K that you're familiar with Alex running. That car still getting repaired from the damage at Pikes Peak International Raceway. He's running a car that I think he's using in another series, just getting some track time here this weekend and having some fun. So Alex is out there, but not in Super K as we're used to in that very, very green, very fast S2000.
Exactly. Yes, it needs to be that vivid a green because it's so quick. If it wasn't, you wouldn't see it.
I remember thinking Autobahn last year, he blew the top off the car.
Literally.
It has a hard top, because S2000s all come as a soft top. I think there was one factory hard top version, but they didn't. You have to tape the roof down because all the hard tops, they get air underneath them and blow the tops off. And so he came around and goes, wasn't there a roof on that car a minute ago? Yep, it was laying on the racetrack. So.
Unbelievable.
Oh, man. Brandon Hodge in the 89 up to 4th place overall in Street GT in this session. Graham Gaylord's out there, too, in the 402. Haven't mentioned Tom Halka this session either. He's out there. So is the Not Fast Motorsports 28 FRS.
Well, and Rich Enriquez in the 469, the Street Mod GR Supra ran a 150.5 this morning, a 47.3 in this session, sitting 3rd overall. So they are finding really big chunks of time out there for the most part. That's really cool.
But there was a PhD Supra that had a crash at Lime Rock Park. I'm trying to remember if it was Rich. But if it is, they did a really good job repairing that car. But Jackie will message me and let me know if it might have been a different one. But either way, Rich really finding some good time right now. So Track Battle C underway here. Coming up next in a moment, as soon as this session goes checkered, we get to watch Falcon Sunday Cup go back to battle, and I can't wait because it's always fun to watch those guys party out there in the Fits and the Fiestas and the Mazda 2s and the Mini Coopers and what else we got in Sunday Cup this week? We got all sorts of weird stuff in Sunday Cup, too, this weekend. We have, what else? I know there's a 1992 Honda Civic out there in Sunday Cup.
The ZX2 of Lucas Urban.
ZX2, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yep.
But I guess that's not weird. It's just unique.
Yeah.
But really good stuff. So across the line here, continuing Track Battle C. So I'm going to guess with GLTC at the top of the hour at 6, we're expecting a checkered here in the next lap or two. And Team She Breaks, He Fixes at 150.4. That's a pickup. Jumps ahead of Alex Moss.
It's a great lap.
I mean, if you're beating Alex Moss in anything, you're going really
doing
quick.
well. Yep. No question. 7.
Nessus Pizzellis again running an S2000. There's the checkered flag in the hands of John Raymond up there at the front straightaway. That's John or Adam, I can't tell.
Hey, how about Cody Smith in that Olds Cutlass?
Yeah, how's he doing?
He's up into the top 5 in this session. He ran a 149.6 this morning and a 48.9. So he's found 7/10 of a second as well. So he's doing a great job. And that's one of the things we talked about this morning is that, that car obviously is very unique. And he has continued to work on it, develop it, and it's starting to show some really good pace. That's partly in the car development, but partly him behind the wheel.
Yeah. Pierre Pucci just picked up a couple seconds there, up to a 51.5. 18th place overall, right behind Jeremy Bailey. We should be able to get a word with him when he rolls back around, so stay tuned for that. There is Group D getting lined up. You see all the Fits in line. Eric Streeter's Mini Cooper in row there as well. Lots of cars in this group that I can't wait to talk about. And let me resort real quick. I wanted to chat about some of the other Sunday Cup cars. And we also have a 1998 Subaru Legacy. That's Brant Verks behind the wheel of that car. And the ZX2, the Mini Cooper, and I think that's all the unique stuff in that category this weekend. But a big field, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 Sunday Cup cars.
Wow.
So it'll be a lot of fun here.
That'll be fun. And Pierre Pucci right now with the with that helpful suspension on it has gone almost a half second quicker than he did previously.
Well, hey, so. He's got the special orange car parts on it. I blessed it with my presence.
That's it.
For about 20,000 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was yeah. Well, it's 110,000 miles less wear.
Yeah,
on it.
right. Exactly. Maybe that's the secret.
So he's awesome through the left-hander.
Yeah, exactly. No, I was actually wondering. I mean, I'm sure it's fine, but they told me they're going to give me the new one that they ordered.
Yep.
Do you have to replace the other one now? I don't know how that works. They're like $65. It's not like it's a big deal,
But
I'm not scared about replacing the other one.
Does it crab if you don't? I
don't know. I mean, I'm not
sloppy turning in somewhere.
I'm definitely not afraid of it. They took it off in about 2 minutes, so it couldn't possibly be very, very difficult to put back together. But hey, this car was in a concrete wall a couple hours ago, and here it is back on track. That's how we do things here at GRIDLIFE. And
all hands.
Just getting track time. And I think it's so important also. Tom talked about this a lot, Tom O'Gorman, after his crash in testing at Road America last year.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Lavoie gave him his car and said, you get back out there and just get that out of your head. You just got to get that out of your system and prove to yourself, yeah, I made a mistake, but let's fix it. And let's get behind the wheel, get my confidence level back up. And that's really important. If you have time to, like, soak in the fact that you wrecked before you get back in, then that can be not great for your weekend or your future.
Confidence breeds speed, and if you lose that confidence, it's really tough to get back out and do it again. So that is the absolute key, and that was a great thing that Zach did for him.
Yeah, Piero Pucci's on pit lane with Cerise Taylor from FCP Euro.
All right, we're here at Piero. Piero, sometimes when you're getting ready for a race, you're on borrowed time. This time you're on borrowed parts. Yeah. How was it out there?
It felt a little good. It felt better, but all the adrenaline going through my body. But yeah, thanks, Kyle. Kyle, you're the man. I really appreciate it. Thank you to ASM and all the guys. They really pulled one for me. So yeah, those guys over there, they really did everything for me. So.
The car community honestly is one of the best group of people. So we're happy to see you out there, and keep it pushing this weekend. Okay?
Thank you, man. Thank you.
All right, guys, back to you.
Thanks, Cerise. Thanks, Piero. Yeah, and Dana Basinski gets a lot of credit too. He was over there with the tools already set up and everything. So when he talks about ASM, there is probably, you hate to throw comparisons out there, but there is probably not a group more capable of taking cars apart and putting them back together in a short amount of time as ASM. Across the board. It doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
They were telling me it doesn't even matter what car it is. They've got the experience. They know how everything fits together. They can pull it apart. ASM, and led by Andy Smedegard, they really know what they're doing.
They're like a surgical team. I mean, everybody knows exactly what they're doing, and they just get in and do it, and it pays off. And you could hear there was some emotion in his voice. And, when you have made that long tow, and, very few of these people are, big money people. And you put everything into it, and you get here, and then you have that kind of a thing happen, and you think, I'm done. And then everybody jumps into action and gets you back out. It gets you. It moves you. And it makes you appreciate just what a special paddock this is, as our field of Sunday Cup cars makes their way out on track. Again, this class, it is the best bang for the buck in all of motorsports. Relatively inexpensive, huge fun.
Certainly. And you can use that car to go get groceries, and you can sleep in it, and you can do all the things that you got to do. There, by the way, is the white flag on the racing season. The fall foliage coloration now, even here in Kansas, already turning shades of amber and red, and that signifies that we got to wrap things up before it gets too cold and to go racing. We do go ice racing in Wisconsin in the winter, usually in January, so that's typically not something. We actually did stream it last year, I remember.
Is that right?
Yeah, like not with the specialty guys, which they crush it, but we did have a little bit of drone coverage and that sort of thing with some announcing. It was kind of fun, so we'll see if we can do that again next season. I'm sure we will, although it's not one of my favorite venues on a frozen lake in Wisconsin. But, hey, I mean, if you want to learn about car control, drive a car on ice.
I will tell you this right now. It's the most fun to this date that I have ever had behind the wheel of a car was ice racing. I did a few seasons. That's actually how I started my broadcasting career, was back in the days of cable access, Wayne's World. Actually went out, got a cable access production truck, got some friends on cameras, and went out and covered ice racing. And like you said, and the interesting thing was when I drove my first road race in the wet, my entire expectation was this is going to be great because I'm pretty comfortable sideways. That wasn't what made the difference. What made the difference was comfortable and absolutely awful visibility. Because in an ice race, you're dealing with a lot of slop or ice dust. So
here is car number 309. This is Tony Stark's Class C Racing, Elk River, Minnesota, an 04 Acura TL. This car is running in the street class. This is a unique build. I don't know if I see a lot of front-wheel drive cars in street. It's a class that has sort of ended up with a lot of all-wheel drive. So if to have a front-wheel drive car, that's a unique addition to the street category, and here he is making laps.
Yeah, he had a 154.2 this morning in that TL, so we'll see what he's able to do in this session. I've always thought those TLs are just really pretty cars, just great lines.
They are fantastic, and
Yep.
we actually have seen a couple in GLTC. Gordon Makalevich, who hasn't raced with us this season, had one that he raced back in 2019, I believe, at Road America, was right up in the mix with everybody battling for the lead. We haven't seen Gordon in a little while. We have seen a couple TSXs, one of them being James Houghton, who unfortunately is not here this weekend, but Acura's good cars. They're just Hondas, but with nicer interiors, and when you gut it and put a roll cage in, it doesn't matter anyway.
It just goes. You can see him exiting turn 9, that second part of that really, really quick chicane. Here's turn 10.
Not the lightest car on planet Earth, though.
No.
A little bit bigger. You can see that squat in the suspension there, kind of rolling onto the suspension. But interesting to watch the dynamics as the car moves around on the chassis, or on the suspension, I should say.
And I was going to point out the next time we follow a car through that 10, 11, 12 complex, I talked about how you sacrifice the exit at 10, and then you sacrifice the entry to 12. And I want to explain that just a little bit, what you mean when you're sacrificing an entry to a corner. And you'll do that when the preceding straight or corners is fast. So you want to keep your speed up because the corner you're going into is essentially a throwaway corner. It's a setup for something else. So we can talk about that next time that we have that.
All right.
So you can see it.
Here comes the fit fight on the front straightaway here. There's a group of 3 of them. There's got to be a bigger group out there somewhere at the moment because there's 15 of them on the racetrack. Jim Smitheline up to a 159.285 under the 2-minute mark. Now, track records-wise, where we stand, we already broke that this morning. Our fastest time in Sunday Cup so far this weekend, though, where have we seen that? That was Lucas Urban at a 158.65. So we're not quite there in this session just yet, but I will bet we will get close.
I count 12 of them out there on the track.
Okay, yeah, I think there's 14 registered. So there's a whole bunch on track right now as we follow them around.
And here's the thing. Yeah, we talked about we broke the existing track record in the other morning session we covered, but it can be broken again.
Oh, it sure
That's
can.
the fun part about this.
Yep. It's Brad Smith, by the way, that 92 car that we saw go by the camera a moment ago. There he is, the red Gen 1 fit known as the Jazz Overseas. That's a good name for it, too.
Yeah, it is. That's cool.
But here's the thing. So if you're thinking about doing Sunday Cup and you have not bought a car yet and you want to buy a car, or again, this is a great class for if you can only have one car in your life and you want to race. This is the car.
This is it.
And I would still recommend, you can get Fiestas, you can get Mazda 2s. There's all sorts of ways to kind of, cut the cake here. But in terms of what I would choose personally, I would choose a Fit because they have fold flat rear seats. The Fiesta rear seats, they just fold into an awkward hump. You can't use that interior space. These cars, they're almost the size of a Generation 1 Honda Odyssey inside. Like, they're huge.
Wow, that's
when you fold the
impressive.
seats down.
Yep.
You see a big bounce there.
Oh, he is wheeling it. Just letting that rear float around, get that to rotate a little bit. And it's interesting, when you're really going fast, the way you get that rear to rotate is actually you come off the brake a little bit. You're braking really hard, and sometimes that doesn't make sense. But what happens is when you're braking, you're always generally, you may be trail braking, but you're still braking more than you are turning, right?
Yep.
When you come off the brake, what that does is it releases the energy of the braking into the turning motion, right? So you come off and you just turn the wheel a little bit, and the front end then bites, and that gets that rear end to just sort of rotate around a little bit. And you can control it by how quickly you come off the brake. If you really need that back end to pop around, you come off fairly aggressively. And that is literally how you can control that.
Great little fight here. In the middle of that is the 594 of Rory Lonergan for Dead Bear Racing. Now, Rory explained the name of this team. It wasn't a random choice. Why Dead Bear Racing? Well, They also have a 1990 Mazda Miata, and his dad had a 2002 Miata. A bear hit the left front corner of his Miata. I don't know if the bear hit the, well, you see a little slip there.
Yep.
If a bear hit the Miata or the Miata hit the bear, but either way, it totaled the Miata, and the bear didn't make it either. 350-pound black bear. Bought the car back from insurance, and they are continuing to run that car. So that's the team name.
The team name.
And
Got it.
there's Dead Bear Racing, Rory Lonergan. Had a little bit of a slip. I missed that slide as I was reading that. Just a little oversteer on exit?
Yeah,
or?
it just came out, ran, and made the save, but by that point was off track just a little bit.
Yep. And another identical one behind.
Yeah.
That's the 235 car, which is Anthony Novelli. Again, I owe him a big thanks for helping put my Fiesta together last week. I put the suspension on. I wasn't sure if it was right. They definitely helped get the suspension set up, sorted on that car, and nut and bolted the whole thing for me. So him and Kyle Carson's in this 411 car from Hard Times. They both spent their Sunday afternoon helping me out. So big thanks, Anthony Novelli, right now. As it stands in, looks like, what, 6th or 7th in Sunday Cup as it stands, but we'll see if he'll pick up a little bit later here in the session.
Yeah, 2:04.2, and he'd run a 2:03.6 this morning, so more to come potentially.
And Kyle Carson, some new body work on this car. Side skirts on it, side skirts you can have on these cars, which is really neat because I think they make cars look cool. And I was excited to hear that because I wanted to staple some Home Depot PVC on the side of my car, too. I can't wait, Greg.
You are. I love it.
Oh, man.
I love it. You're gonna start doing some active driving,
Heck
baby.
yeah, man. Well, I'm just afraid of tracking the FRS because those motors are so expensive.
Right.
And it's a Subaru, so the Ford, even if the motor pops, it's a $50 junkyard motor. You pull it out, you put it back in.
Well, it's really a great class. We're talking about the bang for the buck. It's relatively inexpensive and it's as fun as it gets. But the other thing any low horsepower car will be this, but these in particular, one of the greatest things you can have, no matter where you go in your racing career, if you go pro, if you're just an avid club racer, if you're autocrossing, is to understand momentum. And these cars, they don't have a lot of power. So the only way you get fast laps is you've got to flow more speed into, through, and out of a corner than your competitor, right?
Right.
Because then you carry that advantage all the way to the next braking zone, right? And that will serve you no matter where you go. If you end up driving, 900 horsepower GT1 cars, well, if everybody's at about the same horsepower and you can flow a little bit more speed through and out of a corner,
it pays dividends.
You're gonna qualify better, and you're probably going to be able to make passes. And if you can't, and you are not doing a good job in the corners, you're going to be literally a sitting duck for somebody coming up behind you. So learning to drive a momentum car before you step into anything else will pay you massive dividends down the road no matter what you're racing. It's that simple.
Watched Kyle Carson's enter turn 5. The rear was bouncing around. When they had this car up on the lift when I got to the shop on Sunday, and they were kind of fighting rear grip in this car. It looks a little bit better sort of than at least what they were saying, but they were saying they have issues bouncing in the rear, so trying to soften up the suspension, make it grip a little better.
Woo!
Big slide, gather it back up. Come on, get it slowed down. Nice work there, Kyle.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice. That was close.
It certainly was. But again, I think they're still fighting rear grip, as you can see.
Clearly.
But, well, that'll spook you a little bit. But, well, it got knocked off. Streeter in the 771. That is the Mini Cooper that has jumped up into 5th in the category as it stands. Jake Abbott, by the way, who's 4th from Abbott Auto Performance in that 826. That is an $800 Honda Fit. Stuffed it in the fence at Autobahn.
Wow.
And I ran back over to see if he was all right. He's like, yeah, I'm fine. $800 car, we'll fix it. Just not even worried with the grin on his face like he always has. And here's Streeter now in that 771. Great looking car. And Minis, I think, underrated. I'm sure they're not the easiest things to fix, but short wheelbase, great at changing direction, very nimble cars.
And they just look cool.
They look awesome.
From the original Mini and the modern Mini is very retro in its look and everything, yet still being a pretty cool car. I just want to point out Tony Starks might have the biggest gain from this morning to this afternoon. This morning he ran a 154.2. He's got a 150.3. That's essentially 4 seconds better.
Big gain.
So they found some serious stuff there.
Streeter found some serious stuff through 7. He was all over the wheel there.
He was.
Tires cranking left and right to try to find purchase here And then heading into the backstretch again. High-speed corners, though, short wheelbase, gonna be a little scary if you don't have enough rear grip. But right now, looks like he's got enough of it, at least on the middle of the corner. Now, front-wheel drive, you can run rear-wheel drive in this class. I'm not sure that's going to stand forever. Right now, it doesn't matter what your drivetrain is, but I think from what I've heard, and I don't know this as fact, there is the idea to make this a front-wheel drive only category, just because it's a little harder to balance rear-wheel drive and front-wheel drive when you have this little power. But you know, the way you drive front-wheel drive cars is fundamentally pretty different in terms of how you react to rear grip loss.
Oh, absolutely.
You slam that throttle to the floor and drive straight out of it. The car will go where the tires are pointed.
Point the wheel.
Rear-wheel drive, you're going to have to steer into the slide and catch it. So different fundamentally.
And what that means is when you get crossed up in a corner, you've got to be careful that when you go for the save in a front drive car and you go into opposite lock, that you don't overcorrect and go to throttle. You've got to be very aware of where those tires are pointed and just feed it throttle.
I think at this point, we're going to take a step away here at the tail end of Track Battle D. We'll be back in just a moment for the start of GRIDLIFE Touring Cup race number 4. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Flies, and we're racing.
The Hightotter pushes Jensen along the exit of turn number 4. This win, it's big fly! It's time to go racing at GRIDLIFE Midwest.
Hill side by side.
O'Gorman around the outside now for the top spot. Tom O'Gorman goes to lead. 3 wide for the lead.
This is great racing, folks. This is what this series is all about.
GRIDLIFE Touring Cup race number 1 about to kick off from Heartland Motorsports Park, the site of the season finale for GRIDLIFE's 2022 point season. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Greg Kramer. Greg, this racetrack we ran last year, not on the live stream. This time we get to watch everybody race a nearly 40-car field in their first of 4 races in their finale weekend.
And on a 2.5-mile track, it's going to be busy, it's going to be furious, and it's a track that is a real driver's track. Technical sections of the track, flowing sections of the track, uphill bank corners where you really have to be very precise in your car placement. It's a little bit of everything, very consistent grip all the way around the track. Drivers just love this place, and we're running the fastest of the layouts, which makes it even more exciting, I think, and compelling.
And we've got some great points battles on display this weekend. Standing by with 2 of the drivers involved in one of those battles is Cerise from FCP Aero.
All right, guys, we're talking mid-pack madness. I'm here with Zach Lavoie. Zach, you and Eric Jensen are pretty neck and neck right now. You are ahead of him. Now, he won race 4 last year. Right. What is your strategy at staying ahead?
Stay ahead. That is my strategy. I'm going to keep him in my rear view as much as I can, and I know that car's fast down the straight, so it's really try to get away from him in the turns. I hope he's not listening. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, look, we've built an incredible friendship, I feel like, over this season. It has been phenomenal to race next to Eric. I could trust him. It's just been perfect. So coming into it, it's hard because it's like, he's my bud, but we both have a mission. So how do we do this and how do we come through it clean, you know? And however it is, we had a great season. We're like fully blessed just that we do this. So, yeah, that's it.
I love the confidence, honestly. Hey, let's see what he has to say. Eric, question.
Yes, ma'am.
You won race 4 here last year in Topeka, Kansas. Right now you got Lavoie ahead of you. What's your plan at bumping him up, bumping him back?
I got to get him on the start. If I don't get him on the start, it's really tough to pass Zach. But I think we'll have a good, clean race. And, I mean, honestly, all the guys 2 ahead, 2 below we're all going to be right together, I think, the whole time. So it should be a good race.
The energy out here is so good. Honestly, I'm not expecting any fisticuffs, just a good, clean race.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
We love each other. Yeah.
Thanks, guys, so much. All right, back to you.
Thanks, Cerise. Again, Eric and Zach, you're going to have a really hard time finding guys that are nicer in the paddock than those guys. Zach and Eric, they always give you big bear hugs, and what a great battle here. They're currently separated by 4 points. Now,
so close.
That is weekend points, right?
Yeah.
So we give out points per race on a 25-point scale, 25, 21, 18, 16, 15, 14, and so on. Then at the end of the weekend, you total up your 4 races, and then you renormalize based on that 25-point scale. So the battle will be a little tricky to follow along this weekend, but we'll generally have things sorted out for you tomorrow morning. We'll really know kind of after race one where things stand, and we'll do our best to mathematically keep everybody in the loop of how things are transpiring throughout the weekend. But the goal for Eric Jensen, he has to get in front of Zach Lavoie. That's the math of it at the end of the day.
Well, and the interesting thing is they are starting in the 8th and 9th spot, respectively. So Jensen has an opportunity here because he will be on the inside of row 5, Zach on the outside of row 4. So if he can get that launch, he's got that opportunity.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be watching a great mid-pack battle now. Tom O'Gorman will be on pole alongside Jeremy Swenson, but there's going to be a good fight for really 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, all the way through 15th probably is really where the mass of everybody's going to be. There's Tom getting the Hans device on and getting prepped. Again, that car probably, again, one of the best handling cars Tom's ever driven, in his own words.
Yep.
And getting behind the wheel of it, again, 19 wins on the season. At PPIR, that was the first time he was winless in a weekend since COTA at the beginning of the season. He has won at least one race every round except for those two. So
it's just an incredible run. And this is his 22nd pole of the season. I mean, this is one he's going to remember for a long time.
I'd say so. So we'll talk more about that when we roll off here. About 2 or 3 minutes until we turn him loose here for the pace lap. So a couple other housekeeping things in terms of the points. Well, yes, that 4-point battle for 7th in the championship, which will probably be actually for 6th, given that Paul Curley is not here this weekend. The other battle to follow is Jeremy Swenson and Andy Smedegaard. They come in 1 point between them for 2nd place. Jeremy has the advantage. That fight, as they start pretty much nose to tail in this race, is going to get hot immediately.
I was going to say, they're literally 2nd and 3rd in the points. They start 2nd and 3rd on the grid, so they're in close quarters. We talked about Lavoie and Jensen, but let's not forget, Walbaum and Thorne are in their own little scrap right now for the 4th and 5th spot, and they're not separated by that much either. I think it's 7 points separating them. Now, they're split on the grid a little bit. Walbaum had a great qualifying run in 4th. Robert Thorne in 7th. He's got that BMW with the long wheelbase, and he said he's just really trying to figure out how to get it through 10 through 14 a little bit better, but was right up in that battle. So there's lots on the line here in a lot of different categories. And then just obviously the win and the podium at the end of the year. That's big too.
It's super big. Another driver we should highlight, currently 10th in points, is young Matan Rosenberg. Now, young guy, I don't know if he's 19 yet, but he's 18 or 19. Yeah. Really, really young. Very experienced. He's one of our instructors here at GridLife. Runs an NA generation Mazda Miata with some support from Auto Assets. And Tom he drove that car the other day. And they were struggling to find some handling balance in that. And Tom really wanted to make sure that everyone knew how good Matan is as a driver. Because, yeah, he's 10th right now. But think back to Gingerman, Greg. You remember that battle they had up front on the invert? Matan did a phenomenal job. And they're really trying to work and develop that car and get it a little bit better. And there's certainly room to improve.
He's basically built it. I mean, the entire thing himself. And so I think that was a really savvy move by Matan to say, hey, Tom, will you go out and put some laps in on this and just tell me how the car feels to you? Because that's invaluable information from one of the very best to be able to, to come back in and go, okay, here's what you need to work on. You do this, you're going to be in the hunt.
And I think you get praise from Tom O'Gorman. You've done something.
You bet.
Tom doesn't text me about drivers like that all the time. I think it's really important to highlight when he's been impressed. You're impressing a guy that has seen a lot of people come through in a lot of different racing series. So really neat. Yeah. We're going to get into our starting lineup here in just a minute. We're just waiting for a little bit of track cleanup, and then we'll get racing for 12 to 15 minutes. Now, for those that are new to GLTC, they go, what is this, what I'm about to watch? This is wheel-to-wheel racing. This is single-class power-to-weight balanced racing. So the formula here is 12.5 pounds per horsepower, balanced with weight modifiers. If you add aero, you're adding weight. If you complicate the car, you want to add a fancy transmission, that's adding weight. So that's how you balance it. You add a little tire width into that calculation, and you can balance a Corvette and a Miata and a Cayman and a pickup truck and all of those things together.
A minivan.
A minivan. That's what you can do here in GLTC. So that's what the formula is, 12 to 15 minutes. I say that because we don't have a set race time. We don't have a set time or distance. This is all about a window of opportunity to race, and we'll throw the checkered when we want to throw the checkered. That's how this works, and it puts on a great show. If you've never seen GLTC before, you're in for a treat, and it'll only be a minute or two until we release them.
And what's going to be interesting here, talking to some of the drivers, is on a free lap, as we saw in qualifying with the time Tom O'Gorman put up, the lighter weight cars that still have a little bit of oomph are really good on a free lap. But the minute on this track you get into traffic, the cars that have a little bit more torque may not be fastest on a wide open lap, but you get into traffic where you're being held up by the car in front of you, the torquier car that may ultimately run out of speed coming out of especially 6 and 14, what we call the two big traction events here, that torquier car is going to have a big opportunity. And the other big thing is on the start, from the start stand, the start line into turn 1 is one of the longer runs from green flag into the first corner. So again, a car with a little bit of oomph can make a difference here. So Swenson starting in second. Can he get in front of O'Gorman? Jensen, can he get around Lavoie? And he's got the big V8 stuffed into that BRZ. So that's where it's going to be really fascinating to see it play out here. And talking to Tom O'Gorman, he said one of the fascinating things about this track is in almost every one of the turns, from whatever your speed you're carrying into the corner, you rarely get rid of more speed than 20, maybe 25 miles an hour. So you're braking, you can go really deep and still brake relatively light and flow the speed. And he said, which makes it really easy to lose your head a little bit, go in too deep and over brake.
Yep.
And he said, but it's just one of those tracks where you're never really getting rid of huge amounts of speed in one big chunk where you're going down 3 gears and standing on the nose. And he said, so it's all about breathing the brakes into the corners, making a nice, smooth, easy down change. Lots to be paying attention to in this one.
All right, well, the cars are beginning to roll off. Let's roll through our starting lineup. On the front row, points leader Tom O'Gorman for ASM. Jeremy Swenson with Viking Performance rolls off in second.
In the third spot, it'll be Andy Smedegard, third in points, and Matt Waldbaum starts fourth in the number 90.
And in row number 3, on the inside, it's going to be Eric Cattell in that hybrid racing, Eric Cattell Racing EG Civic. Austin Hurdle rolls off in 6th in the 2013 Nissan 370Z.
In row 4, it'll be Robert Thorne in the BMW, the 180, and the number 42, Zach Lavoie in the Honda S2000.
Row number 5, it's Eric Jensen for G-Speed in the 2016 Scion FRS. Joel Morrison, new wrap, new livery, rolls off 10th in the number 71.
In row 6, it'll be the 18-year-old, maybe 19-year-old Matan Rosenberg in the number 484 Mazda MX-5, and Jackson Jensen, Maverick, starting there.
Jake Jornstad from Myriad Motorsports starts on the inside of row 7 and 13th. Outside, Felipe Gonzalez, his teammate. Both teal cars roll off in row 7.
And in row 8, it'll be Scott Robertson in the number 213 Mazda, joined by Aramis Carrozas in the number 871 M3.
All right, row 9, Hans Horpedal for Myriad Motorsports in the 77. Nick Steniford in the 87 rolls off in 18th place.
In row number 10, Wes Case in the number 767, M3. He'll be joined by Brian DeFries in the number 898 Honda Civic.
Yeah, Robertson Racing there. There's Fiona Liu in the 888 car. That's an S2000 in 21st. Brad Casebo rolls off 22nd in row 11.
And in row 12, Andy Sundin, the number 546 BMW M3, joined by Julio Crispin in the 2007 Nissan number 911.
Row 13, Louis Chatroop from Performance Euroworks in the 1993 BMW 325. Wes Penn starts 26 in the number 113.
In row number 14, the number 17 is Tony Marchev in the S2000. And in the number 28 starting spot,
Vitas Aronowskis.
Thank you very much.
Jeremy Boysen starts 29th in the 2014 Porsche Cayman. And Joe Ascoli in the 523 Dustin Barty's old car, 30th place.
And in the 31st spot, it'll be the 515 of Thomas Moss and the 177, Justin Lautz, joining him.
All right, last couple rows. Savannah Little in the 851, 33rd. Brian Tyson, new to GLTC, 34th.
And in row 18, it is going to be David Rudzinski and the Chevrolet S10 pickup, the number 51, Jason Saney, and the number 33 Porsche Cayman.
Yeah, so Jason didn't submit his comp form on time. There's Brian Heitman, by the way, that will roll off in 37th place. Saney didn't put his comp form through in time, and the comp form essentially declares your power, your weight, all your modifiers. Was still working on things on the car. Knew he was going to get disqualified, but he would have started 10th.
Yeah.
So we'll see how quickly he drives up through the field.
Yeah, he put in a late lap that was really, really good to jump into that top 10. And again, this is a car very, very early in the development cycle, and so they're chasing all those little things. And you know it's coming, you deal with it, and you go out and drive. But make no mistake, Jason Saney, really talented. There's the man.
All right, so
Adam
Adam Jabay waiting for cars to roll here. Sorry, I'm getting text about they need a coil pack for an FRS, and I got one in my glove box, so take that too.
There's going to be nothing left
I have more of those too at that point.
There'll be nothing left of your car.
That's why you got to pay attention to the group chats, because people need stuff, and you got to be ready. Even when you're working, you got to be ready. So I'm letting them know they can go ahead and steal that as we get set here. A little bit of a delay as cars, I think, are now finally rolling off. Yes, there they go. So we've already rolled through the grid. Weather is cool. The sun is already setting here. We're getting late in the year, so the sun is beginning to set down as we get set for GRIDLIFE finals here from Heartland Motorsports Park as we get rolling.
I'm liking all that blue in the background. That's what we're supposed to see tomorrow here. Tell us a little bit. You guys have such fun pace cars. You got a good one here, it looks like, up front, too.
Yeah, that's a Honda Civic Type R. Again, it's that very beautiful yellow. Emma Adams, who's up in our timing tower, said that's one of her dream cars. And I said, why don't you just get one? She said, well, you know, they're a little priced over MSRP right now, but she really wants one of those things. So, yeah.
Cars going right by our booth here, and it is a glorious sound indeed. And I've said this many times, and that's one of the things I love about this series, one of many, is the variety of machines from 4 cylinders up to 8 cylinders, and they go by, and each of them their own instrument in the orchestra, and when they all fire up and head out, the symphony is absolutely glorious. And, can't wait for this one to get underway.
37
Championship weekend.
Cars.
Yeah.
Yes, almost a 40-car field, almost 20 rows of cars. GRIDLIFE Touring Cup, power to weight to tire. That's how we balance everything here. What a fantastic year it has been. Think back to Circuit of the Americas back in February. That's where we kicked off our season. We headed off to Atlanta Motorsports Park, then off to the National Corvette Museum, Gingerman Raceway, Autobahn Country Club, New Jersey Motorsports Park, Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, Lime Rock Park, Pikes Peak International Raceway, and I think this is it. Did I miss one?
Nope.
I think I got them all. 10 rounds on the season. I have them right in front of me. I could read them. No, I got them all.
I think you got them.
Coda, AMP, NCM, Gingerman, Autobahn, New Jersey, Mid-Ohio, Lime Rock, PPIR, Heartland. That has been our season, and we're not quite done yet. We're kicking off the first race of 4. Again, 12 minutes is going to go on the timer. If you see that timer elapse to 0 and we're still racing, that is okay. We'll just keep racing until the checkered falls.
Exactly. Yeah, somebody didn't forget. That's the plan. And it's interesting, you know, we've got qualifying sets the field for this race. Fast lap in this race sets the field for race 2. So if you're mired in the pack, you would do yourself well to back off, give yourself a little room, throw in one really good lap before the tires go off to try and move up a little bit for the start of race 2. So there are some missions that you have to be on here, and that's going to be interesting because race 3 grid's based on where you finish in race 2, so things can domino either positively or badly.
If I'm Jason Siney, you know what I'm doing? I'm laying back. I don't want to drive through 30 cars. I want to lay back, get a lap time.
Yep.
Because as you mentioned, that second race set by lap time, you're not going to pass 30 cars in this race.
No.
Start at the back, stay at the back, run a really good time as soon as you can get some clear racetrack, and then you're guaranteed to start up towards the front. Everyone else will be racing each other.
Well, and yeah, exactly. I mean, this is his first start. It's not like he's worried about points or anything like that. This is still, in a way, a developmental weekend. So you're absolutely right. Give yourself a gap. Well, those tires are still good. Put in a scorcher, then have some fun, get after it, and be ready for race 2.
Lights are off atop the safety car here in GLTC. We select these in Instagram competitions. You send in the hashtag GLTC Pace Car Search. I think that's the hashtag. You have to look at our official Instagram to find the official one. But that pace car that was selected will dive off driver's left into pit lane. And after 9 rounds of competition, the 2022 season is about to come to a close after 4 GRIDLIFE Touring Cup races. This is race number 1. 37 cars from drivers from all over the country, all walks of life, all makes, models, manufacturers, and model years. Time to go racing in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup, and GLTC at Heartland Motorsports Park is underway. We're green at Heartland.
And there goes Swenson using that V8. He's got that opportunity. It's all going to be where he can be once they get through this first sequence of corners. Had to give it up, and here comes Smedegaard.
Sneaks up the inside. Are they going to touch through turn number 1? Maybe a little scrape, but Swenson slots into second place. Tomo sneaks on through and now has the top spot. Look behind, though. Thorne and Waldbaum side by side. That's a points battle for 4th in the championship.
Well, and Thorne coming from well back, so he got around both, I think, Hurdle, and, yeah, he also got around Coutil. So a great start by Thorne. Now down down to the inside of Walbaum.
Yeah, he snuck one under there for sure. They almost bounced off each other into turn number 6, and Thorne trying to squeeze on by in the M3. Didn't get a lot of practice time trying to dial in that car here for Heartland Motorsport Park.
Walbaum has that little bit of overlap.
Oh, trouble. No, we got it straightened out, I think.
Yep,
yes.
just drops.
Wow.
Dropped. It looked a lot worse than it was, didn't it?
Certainly.
And there goes Thorne. He's got through on Walbaum, so that battle continues. What a start by Thorne, 7th to 4th.
Look at Cattell.
Yeah.
Up the inside of Walbaum. That'll be a battle for fifth or sixth place there as they sneak on through. Look at Eric Jensen now up in the mix. He's in front of Lavoie. Where'd Lavoie go? There he is, battling back there between Joel Morrison through turn number 9.
That's that quick chicane section of the track now, heading up into that turn 10, 11, 12 complex here. And you can see it up there. And look at this, Walbaum and Cattell side by side.
Looks like Walbaum will hang on for now. It's going to come down to the drag race on the front stretch if Cattell can slot in behind, use that slipstream, but he will have to battle that big, heavy V8 FRS in behind him. This is the true test of the power versus weight thing here. We get to the corners. Cattell's car should be better, but look at Smedegaard now defending from Robert Thorne.
Thorne is on the move early, and look at that gap because of that battling between Cattell and Walbaum. And here comes Thorne down to the inside of Smedegaard.
Chuck it down into turn 1, and he's through. Thorne is on a mission.
Big loose moment by Andy, but he got it rotated. Look at the exit speed he carries.
He's going to come through to the inside at turn 3. Can he dive up in, use the banking? Going to be tight between these two as they sail through turn 3.
And you know what part of this might be is they're still side by side, is that BMW is a bit heavier. We talked about it before. A little bit more weight in these cold conditions activates those tires, gets their temp up a little bit quicker. That was his opportunity to go now.
Yeah, so Thorne keeping hot on the heels of Smedegaard, though, but Andy quicker through the first sector. Walbaum splits the difference between him and Cattell, and in behind, Austin Hurdle has dropped down to 9th. Matan Rosenberg up to 8th. Good start for the number 484.
Yeah, and you can see that little side-by-side between Thorne and Smedegaard has allowed Walbaum, who has cleared Cattell now, to close that gap up after he had they dropped off just a little bit. And that's just, there's an ebb and flow to this stuff. When you start racing somebody side by side, it's going to slow you down, give others opportunity.
Into the S's here, the 8, 9, and 10 section. Here comes Robert Thorne. Does he have overlap on Andy? Yes, he does. Dives into turn number 10, sneaks it up the inside, and they're still door-to-door through 11 now.
And this is that, there's that respect we're talking about. You've got overlap,
Oof.
You got to let it go. And finally Smedegaard said, yeah, I don't want to be pinched too much here. And look how much ground Walbaum has made up just in that exchange between those two guys in front.
Yeah, but now Thorne's car that has the advantage on the straights is out in front of Smedegaard. It'll be hard to defend. This time through, is Swenson keeping touch with O'Gorman? 0.6 of a second last time, but Tomo resets the fastest lap of 43.0, gains another 0.4 on Swenson, then Thorne, Smedegaard, Walbaum, Cattell, the rest of your top 6.
The interesting thing at the start, now that things have settled a little bit, you can see Swenson got up into turn 1, was alongside, but as they got to 2, he just got out of it fairly significantly, and Tomo just shot through. And I think, that car of Tomo's just works incredibly well. But I don't think Swenson felt with the power and the speed he had that he was going to be able to really negotiate that turn. And he's been fighting an issue in right-handers that are quick right-handers where the back end wants to come around. He did not want to fight that early.
Hans Horpedal, Wes Case, and Aremus Carosas all battling for position. That's for 16th spot. One car drops a tire. I think that was Cattell on driver's left at the exit of 6. Joel Morrison and Zach Lavoie. Remember, Zach's fighting for that championship spot, so he's got to get by Joel Morrison and maintain his lead over Jensen.
Down into turn 6, through there. Well, now it's just get on the hammer, as turn 7 really is just a flat-out fling here.
Matan Rosenberg under fire from Austin Hurdle. Now at turn number 8, 370Z versus MX-5. This is about as different as it gets. That 370Z is definitely nearly 1,000 pounds heavier than this Miata. Matan's car, I think, is around 2,600. Hurdle's car, I think, is 3,300 pounds. It's a big boy. Here they come through turn 10.
Ooh, big slide by Matan.
Wow.
Another one. He has thrown it around. And what a start by Matan. I mean, he started 11th and is running at 8. That is a great launch.
Through turn 12 now and 13 now, the right-hander. MX-5 tucks it in tight. This will be a good corner for this car, but the drive from the V6, the VQ engine in that 370Z, that's where it's going to find power. Robert Thorne sets the fastest lap of 42.89.
Boy, he is hooked up early, and he said, I've got good aero on this car. If I can figure out how to get it rotated through that technical section. And here we go, Hurdle trying to get down the inside using that speed. just couldn't quite get there, and Matan shuts the door and covers him.
Tried to pull out of the mirrors of Matan, make him glance up at an area of the racetrack where you're focusing ahead because you're entering a blind area. So great strategy there by Hurdle. Didn't work on Matan, though.
But you've got to try things. You've got to get creative. Try and rattle the guy in front of you. Get him to make a little bit of a mistake. And, I mean, just look at the difference in size of those two cars. That MX-5, narrower, doesn't have the greenhouse height, and then that big Nissan right behind him. But, again, with this great power-to-weight package, they run very similar lap times. They might make it a little differently where they get their speed, but at the end of a lap, they're close.
Lavoie snuck by Morrison on the first sector of that lap, so move Lavoie back into 10th place as we continue to watch the battle for 8th on the racetrack as they head into the backstretch and that 8-9 chicane here, the left-right combo.
And Jensen has put together a good opening sequence of laps here because he's gone from where he started up into the 7th spot now, so a really good run, doing exactly what he needed to do.
Here comes Hurdle, taking another look. Matan still driving that car sideways through turn number 10, trying to keep the tires stuck to the road. Not a lot of weight to work with here like the 370. In the cool temperatures, weight is not necessarily your enemy here, trying to get tire temp in.
Absolutely. Now, by the end of the race, it could take a little bit of a toll. And remember, it isn't just tires we're talking about with the weights. Brakes. Ooh, look at that big slide as Hurdle just got that car a little bit wider than he wanted off into the dust on the outside at the exit of 14. And the back end stepped around. And you got to just breathe it to save that. That's going to cost him some time. That could have been a big break for Matan Rosenberg.
Green swipes for Thorne and Cattell. Personal bests for both of those two drivers last time around. There is Zach Lavoie defending from Joel Morrison into turn number 1. Morrison with that brand new kind of highlighter green coloration, the new wrap and livery he's got from Myriad Motorsports, going to work right now trying to get 10th spot back from Lavoie.
Yeah, it's an eye-catching graphics, isn't it? Really, really sharp here as we're having a look here now. And look at this, Coutillo's run Waldbaum back down. And you wonder if Waldbaum may have pushed a little too hard early and is now feeling it here. Coutillo down underneath, got to the inside.
Great run at the exit at turn number 6 into 7. Cattell has 5th place from Waldbaum as we watched Hurdle in the background grab
Yes.
a big chunk of dirt and went sideways. I think he's still battling Rosenberg now, but Cattell slots himself back into 5th.
Nice move by Cattell, just really set that up to perfection. Now, can Waldbaum do anything on the exit here? He's got good exit speed coming out of turn 9 and that chicane, and it's all going to be a matter of how much speed do they flow here into 10. Ooh, Cattell a big lurid slide, and Waldbaum going with him.
Yeah, he went a little carried a little too much speed. They
Yep.
both were kind of daring each other into 10. That was fun to watch. But 1.2 seconds between our two race leaders, O'Gorman and Swenson. Thorne went personal best, but not purple. That was O'Gorman the last time around. Just a couple minutes remaining here in this race. That's how fast they go across the start-finish line. Trouble for Smedegaard off track,
no.
and this is catastrophic for his second-place championship chances against Swenson, who remains in second.
Yeah, he was 4th at the time, and looks like he just pulled off. Oh, that's such a shame here. So Thorne moves up into 3rd, Cattell into 4th, Waldbaum now into the top 5.
That is absolutely a catastrophic hit because he needs Swenson to have bad luck now at this stage in the weekend, which is not, don't want to be digging yourself out of a hole at this stage of the weekend. Mechanical most likely. He's off at the exit at turn number 3. Now, they had issues with an axle yesterday. They replaced that, fixed it. Wonder if it's a similar thing given them gremlins today.
And, you know, in this series, you rarely want to wish any of your competitors problems. You'd rather win it just in a straight-up battle. I mean, you'll take it, but it's not how you want to go about things here. Ooh, big late move there.
That's Boysen on the Cayman. He's going to dive up the inside. A couple other fights
Sweet move
happening. There he goes by Savannah Little in the 851 car and sneaks on through for a mid-20s spot. Boysen's car, that is a pretty Cayman.
It really is.
Looks the part for sure. Hey, by the way, Swenson's tracking O'Gorman down. He gained a couple tenths. He needs more than that, but certainly there's pace as we go back. And I think is that Wes Case still and Hans Horpedal still battling for 16th, make it 15th spot now.
They've been doing that for the entire race. What a great scrap that is.
And not done. Arimas Korosis is lingering in the background, as well as a couple others. Is that Jason Sidey back there as well? Heck yeah, it is.
Yeah,
18th place. He came from dead last.
Wow, that's an incredible run. And let's hope he got that lap in on the chart.
Is that Austin Hurdle off to driver's right?
Looked like it.
Oh, man. I wonder, he was clobbering the sausage curb on the inside of 13. I wonder if that could be suspension related. But they're dropping like flies up here at the front, granting some more. Oh, is that Did he just pull off, or is that in the tires? Or I
don't
can't
know.
tell.
I think he may have just pulled off. It looks like he could have clobbered the tires, but I think that was how they were already. But we could see that car was getting loose as well, so he may have had a little issue.
Well, a minute left in this race here, but we're not quite sure if we're getting white flag. Not yet, so we're still going this time around as we watch Wes Case, Remus Carosis, and Jason Siney continue to battle. What a great climb for this 33. He started 37th. He runs 18th and is still clipping away at these front runners here.
Yeah, doing a really, really nice job. And, I mean, Jason is a very talented driver. Who was it that ran a little wide back there? It was one of the Myriad cars.
Yeah, that
gathered it back up again.
Either Gonzalez or Jake Jorenstad here.
And I think that was Jorenstad. A little bit farther back here.
So there's Swenson and Robert Thorne. By the way, both of them gaining ground on O'Gorman here, and we're going to get at least a lap and a half out of this, maybe more. So Tom continues to get run down, but Thorne is coming, and he could really be an upset in this battle. We really figured it'd be Swenson, Smedegard, and O'Gorman, but throw the 180 in the mix. He could certainly come out on top of this thing.
No, and I talked to him earlier. He had a little bit of a grin, and he said, this car is good aero. It's got that longer wheelbase, which is really good through those quick flowy corners. It's just this section of the track, and he said if I can get it a little bit more pointy, then we're going to be talking about something here. And he styled it up. They've got that car working.
Back on the front straightaway, this time through, the white flag is waving for Tom O'Gorman. One more lap to pick up his 20th win on the season. Gained a bunch of ground on Swenson that time through as Thorne tries to track him down for second.
I think Tomo may have been driving the margin a little bit, knew he had a nice lead, but Thorne is not done with Swenson yet. He really closed up through 1 and 2. As we watch Tomo just feed it through this climbing turn 3 using the banking. Look at Thorne.
Oh boy, here we go. Battle for second going on here. Swenson and Thorne entering turn 4. This is going to get dicey.
Yeah, it is, and you can see that's one of those turns that Swenson said the car doesn't work great in when he goes to that quick right-hander in 4. 5 not so bad, but you can see that car rotated quite a bit. And let's see what Thorne's going to be able to do now. It's the drag race, and that BMW has some grunt as well, not as much as that V8. And you can see he loses a car length or 2, but now through this section of track, Thorne might just make up some ground through that chicane.
Last couple corners here, turns 8 and 9, this fast left-right combination. Look at the ground Thorne makes up here. Big commitment from the 180. Closes up to about 3 car lengths back.
Yeah, he took about half of that margin away, didn't he?
Now into 10. Big dive on the brakes. Thorne's got the confidence here. Closes the gap. Look at how much he gains here. Back swinging into 11 and 12. Big gain there as well. 2 corners left, 13 and 14 now, as Tom O'Gorman is going to sweep through the final corner. This battle is far from over. 13 the right-hander, 14 the left-hander. Jeremy Swenson trying to hang on to second. His championship rival stuck trackside. For Tom O'Gorman, win number 20 on the 2022 season. O'Gorman picks up the first race win of the weekend. The Hawk Performance checkered flag gets it done. Swenson and Thorne in a battle to the checkers. Only 4 tenths between them. Then Catil in the 82 battling Waldbaum. They will come back to the checkers next. Here's a battle here a little bit deeper in the field. West Case, and there's a car behind. Is that this Nick Steniford in the 87, I believe? Yes, it is.
All right.
Battling into turn 10.
Good close racing everywhere we're looking here, and that's what makes this so fun. Case and Steniford, it's a battle for 17th.
Through the last couple corners now. West Case a little sideways. Here comes Nick to the outside now for turn 13. Battle between an M3 and an S2000. Swing
Ooh, but
back
he got
to the right.
way wide. He could get this drive off of the corner, square it up.
Here he goes. Onto the front stretch. Drag racing back to the checkers. Here they come to the line. We're waiting. And across the line, there's Siney, or Carosis, and
There.
Case gets it by just a half a car length there.
Really close. Man, that was a great piece of driving, though, by Steniford to try get Case off his line in those 12-13 complex. Almost paid off.
Well, I know that Andy Smedegard had something break, and that is awful for his championship second place hopes. Here's what I'm not worried about as we are going to take a look at the results here momentarily. this race is set by lap time. So as long as Andy gets at least one good one in the books there, he'll be just fine to start the race tomorrow. We know Andy can fix whatever's broken. It's just a matter of the point situation. Let's have a look at our race results here for race number 1 on the weekend here at Heartland Motorsports Park. Great battle up front, but as he has been 19 other times this season, win number 20 for O'Gorman. Swenson second place, Robert Thorne, Waldbaum, and Eric Cattell. They actually swapped in that last lap, so Eric slid back behind Matt one final time. Eric Jensen up into 6th, and Jason Siney up to 15th place from 37th. What an amazing climb from 37th place.
That was pretty impressive, wasn't it? He really got the job done. And again, this is just me doing a quick tally here. I think that Smedegaard's lap will put him into the 5th spot.
All right, well, that's not too bad.
Not bad. He's just, Coutil ran at 143.98 and Smedegaard at 143.92. And Coutil right now is the 5th fastest lap in the top group. So that should be right in that window for him. So that's, front 3 rows.
Yeah. Lewis Chatroop and Rudzinski also had some problems, but Hurdle and Smedegaard, both top 5 drivers with issues in this race. We'll get you updated as soon as we can for tomorrow's event, and we can keep you updated before race 2 kicks off. Also, I want to mention Tony Marchev, by the way. He was the driver that was the recipient of that late-night engine change for GRIDLIFE Motorsports. 13th place in his first ever GLTC race.
Well done, Tony.
Very well
done, Tony. You get that kind of help from the paddock. Best thing you can do to reward him is go in and put in a drive like that. That's the best thanks you can give him. Well done, Tony.
Well, cars rolling back to the impound now. They'll select a couple cars to throw on the dyno and just make sure everyone's in compliance. Now, Tomo got dynoed yesterday and was actually making less power than he thought he was making, so that's all fine and dandy after he ran an incredible track record in the qualifying session. So really, really strong stuff. Again, I'm so impressed with Siney and that Porsche came, and they said they were still dialing things in. Car got DQ'd in qualifying, 37th to 15th, monumental climb. Just unbelievable stuff.
Yeah, just fabulous. And I mean, that is a tribute because his lap times, were 147, so not near that front group. That just says that was all down to Jason just absolutely showing what he's capable of behind the wheel with great passes. And like I said, I announced Jason back when he was running World Challenge in the touring car division when they were wickedly quick cars, and he was right at the sharp end of things always. He's a talent.
The sun is setting on the first day of action here in GRIDLIFE Touring Cup at the finals at Heartland Motorsports Park here in Topeka, Kansas. We're not done, though. We've got more action tomorrow. Tomorrow is a much busier day at the racetrack. So if you joined today and we're like, oh, you only raced a couple times. Well, we raced once. We had a little track battle action as well. But tomorrow we have a full day of action. It will start with GRIDLIFE Touring Cup race number 2 at 9:40 Central. That's 10:40 Eastern, followed by track battle, and then the GLTC Top 10 Shootout, which is based on the top 10 result finishers from race 2. Then we'll have a quick lunch break, track battle in race 3, and then track battle in race 4 to finish off our weekend of competition here. Going to be a busy day, lots of hectic action, more track records broken, I will guesstimate right now, but we're still far from done, even though we've had a full day so far.
Oh, absolutely. And you look at how busy that day is, and you think that's going to be a long day. And then that last checkered flag falls, and you go, man, that flew by. That's what is just so compelling about this.
Yeah, so just wrapping things up here today. And in just a moment, we're going to leave you and go grab some dinner and hang out with all the buddies and go find out what happened to Andy and Austin. I think both of them were mechanicals. We'll get an update as soon as we can for tomorrow morning's race so we can kind of fill you in on all that. But, again, impressive drive by Tom. Notice, though, that Swenson, he made a mistake with 2 laps to go, and they lost a little bit of ground to Tom. But prior to that, he was nipping away. And I think at the start, this is Jeremy's first time on that new Bridgestone tire. I don't think he was confident turning in alongside
exactly
Tom.
Right, yeah.
So now that he knows what those tires are capable of and his confidence level will go up, tomorrow, if he starts on the front row, I don't think we'll see him be quite so eager to back down at that first corner.
I think you're right. And I think when he checked up and Tomo just disappeared, I think literally I think Jeremy will go, whoa, all right, I can carry a lot more pace through there than what I did. And that's going to tell the story tomorrow. Obviously it all depends on lap times. Tomo had a 142.7, Swenson a 142.8. How about this? Thorne a 142.77. So he'll start outside front row potentially. Then Waldbaum at a 43.6, and then as I said, Coutil at a 143.98. But I think Smedegaard turned a 143.92, so that'll have him up into the sharp end of things.
Well, we got lots more tomorrow starting at 9:40 Central. We're going to wrap things up here today. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Kyle Heyer alongside Greg Kramer. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for a quick thanks to the partners and people that make this happen. And we'll see you tomorrow morning for GLTC race number 2. Coverage of GRIDLIFE Finals is brought to you by Valvoline, the official motor oil of GRIDLIFE. Coverage of GRIDLIFE Finals is brought to you by Momo, made in Italy since 1964. And FCP Euro, every part you buy is guaranteed for life. eBay Motors, let's ride. Falcon Tires, the Falcon Azenas RT660 is the official tire of Club TR.
The more power you have, the more grip you have, the more you push the limits, the more stopping power you need. Get race-proven technology. Hawk Performance.
Hey, we still on this weekend for a little?
You know it. I'm in desperate need of some.
What about you, Jim?
No, my sister's getting the wedding. She's getting married, so.
When adventure calls, make sure you're ready to answer. Stable 360 ethanol treatment is specifically formulated for year-round use, so your engines will be ready when you are. Ready, willing, stable.
Who don't settle when others do. For those who are set free by performance and believe innovation can take you anywhere.
Ed Vance here, and I'm at my favorite place again.
Sorry, did you say your name is Ed Vance?
That's me.
Like advance?
Crazy, right? And it just so happens he knows everything in advance.
Oh, you know the future? Did you know I needed 10W30?
No. I just know everything here in Advance Auto Parts, like where the 10W30 is.
So you don't know what I'll do next?
Actually, I do. You will be going to the oil aisle.
He's good.
He's Advance.
I spent a lot of time here.
He's here a lot.
This is how we advance.
We've been powering the American road since before it was paved. Our first breakthrough in motor oil was introducing it. And we've been reinventing it ever since. From the world's first high-mileage oil to the world's first synthetic blend. There are those who change with the times, and those who drive them. Valvoline, the original motor oil.
The Falcon Azenas RT660 is the enthusiast choice for ultra-high performance. Engineered for predictable handling and stability, the RT660 provides maximum traction both on and off the track. Your competitive edge has arrived with the Falcon Azenas RT660.